What if I told you that somewhere in America right now, a family is moving into a fully finished home for less than the price of a decent used pickup truck and a nice boat combined? No, this isn't a shed. It's not a garage with a bed crammed in the corner. It is a real, livable, insurable home, steel-framed, factory precision cut, and bolted together on site in a matter of weeks. And the cheapest one on today's list costs less than a lot of people's kitchen renovations. Today, we're counting down 5 of the most jaw-dropping prefab modular barndominiums for 2026, and I'm saving the most shocking price tag for reveal number 5. If you've ever dreamed of owning a home outright, without a 30-year noose around your neck, you need to see this. Before we get into it, if you're new here, this channel is all about tiny homes, barndominiums, and the weird, wonderful world of alternative building. Hit subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And smash that like button. It genuinely helps this video reach more people who need to see it. Now here's my question for you, and I want a real answer in the comments. Cliffside tiny home, yes or no? Would you actually live perched on the edge of a mountain? Or does that sound like a one-way ticket to a very bad day? Drop your answer below, I read every single one. Barn meets house meets factory, let's clear this up first, because people mix up 3 totally different things. A barndominium is a metal, barn-style building that's been converted into living space, usually with wide-open interiors because there's no need for load-bearing walls in the middle of the floor plan. Prefab means major components, walls, roof trusses, siding are manufactured off-site in a factory, then shipped to you. Modular takes it a step further, with entire sections sometimes built and finished before they ever touch your land. Why steel changes everything, the magic ingredient is steel. Pre-engineered steel kits use I-beam framing for the main structure and cold-formed steel for the secondary framing, with the whole thing pre-painted and pre-cut before it ever leaves the factory. That means dramatically less on-site labor, almost zero material waste, and a shell that goes up in days, not months. The numbers are wild. This isn't a fringe trend anymore. The U.S. modular construction market was valued at nearly $13 billion in 2025, and it's projected to almost double to close to $25 billion by 2033. And according to housing industry data, roughly 7% of single-family builders are now building barndominiums, with the majority of those combining a home with a large attached workshop or garage. The real appeal, so why the surge? Durability is a huge one. Steel resists pests, rot, warping, and cracking in ways wood-framed homes simply can't. Speed is another. A shell that would take a traditional crew months can go up in weeks. And then there's flexibility. Since there are no interior load-bearing walls, owners can knock out a wall, pour a new slab, and add an entire room later without touching the structural skeleton. 5. The $70,000 shocker. Let's start with the one that made me want to make this video in the first place. Entry-level modular Barndo kits for a compact 2-bedroom layout are starting around $26,000 for the kit alone in 2026. Add site work, a foundation, basic utilities, and a no-frills interior finish, and a real, livable, fully permitted small barndominium can land right around $70,000 total. Let that sink in. $70,000 for a mortgage-free, code-compliant, 2-bedroom home. That's not a down payment on a starter house. In most cities, that's the whole house. For the mid-size workhorse. Next up, the sweet spot most buyers actually land on: a 40 by 60 foot steel or structurally insulated panel kit, right around 2,400 square feet. Kit-only shells in this range typically run $40,000 to $76,000, but once you factor in a full turnkey build with mid-grade finishes, total project costs commonly land between $130,000 and $200,000. This is the Barndo that shows up again and again in rural America: home on one side, workshop or garage on the other, all under a single steel roof. 3. The 2-story multifamily surprise. Here's a trend most people don't see coming. 2-story modular barndominiums are climbing fast in popularity, especially for multi-generational and multifamily living. Stacking a second floor adds living space without expanding the footprint, which matters a lot when you're paying for site prep and foundation work per square foot of land, not per square foot of house. It's the same efficient steel skeleton, just built upward instead of outward, and it's turning Barndos into a real option for families who need separate living quarters under one roof. 2. The custom red iron estate. Now we start climbing into serious territory. Red iron steel kits, the same heavy-duty framing used in commercial buildings, allow for large open spans with zero interior columns, which is what makes those massive vaulted, cathedral-style Barndo interiors possible. Base packages for a well-appointed design in this class start around $90,000 to $150,000 for materials alone, and most builders quote the realistic turnkey price at 3 to 5 times that base number once land, labor, and finishes are included. That puts a genuinely high-end custom Barndominium easily north of $400,000 finished, but for that money, you're getting architecture that rivals a custom luxury home, built on a steel skeleton engineered to outlast it. 1. The premium modular compound. And at the very top of our list, the full estate-level Barndominium. Established post-frame builders with over a century of experience now offer fully custom packages with professional crews and national dealer networks, blending premium interior finishes, complex roof lines, and large-scale attached shop or barn space. High-end custom builds in this tier commonly run $250 to $400 per square foot, meaning a large, premium modular compound can exceed $600,000 all in. It's proof that Barndominium no longer means budget. At the top end, it means unlimited. No columns, no limits. What makes Barndo interiors feel so different from a traditional home comes down to one structural fact: there's no need for load-bearing interior walls. That single detail is what allows for those soaring vaulted ceilings, full-height lofts, and genuinely open floor plans that feel far bigger than the square footage on paper suggests. Built to grow, and because the framing is modular by nature, expansion is almost shockingly simple. Owners can remove end-wall sheeting, pour an additional slab, and bolt on an extra room or bay later. No demolition of load-bearing structure required. Try doing that with a traditional stick-built home. Built for the wind, not just the view. Here's something most buyers don't think about until it's almost too late. A steel Barndo is lightweight compared to a traditional home, and lightweight structures are actually more vulnerable to wind uplift the force trying to peel a roof straight off in a storm. Engineers counter this with heavier, larger foundations than you'd expect, adding dead weight specifically to keep the structure anchored during high wind events. Snow, hail, and the fine print snow load matters just as much in colder regions, and metal roofing actually performs well against hail. Standing seam metal roofing in particular earns insurance premium credits in a lot of states for its impact resistance. But here's the catch most new owners don't expect. Some insurers apply strict exclusions for purely cosmetic hail damage on metal roofs, so it pays to read that policy line by line before you sign. Where Barndos win on the plus side: lower cost per square foot than most stick-built homes, dramatically faster construction timelines, pest and rot resistance that traditional wood framing can't match, and a floor plan that can evolve with your life instead of boxing you in. Where it gets complicated on the downside: financing can be genuinely harder than a conventional mortgage. Regional banks, credit unions, and agricultural or construction-to-permanent lenders tend to be more comfortable with Barndos than the big national banks are. You'll also need builder's risk insurance during construction before a lender releases a single dollar. And once it's finished, insurance agents sometimes struggle to classify the home correctly, occasionally quoting commercial rates for what is very much a residential property. And in coastal or high-wind regions, if an appraiser can't find comparable sold Barndominiums nearby, a bank might undervalue the home compared to what it actually costs to build, which can mean bringing extra cash to the closing table that you didn't plan for. A few things that surprised even me while researching this one. First, the U.S. modular construction market is projected to nearly double in size by 2033, which tells you this isn't a passing trend, it's a structural shift in how America builds homes. Second, you can genuinely add an entire additional room to a finished Barndo years later without touching the load-bearing frame, something almost no traditional home allows. And third, in some coastal wind zones, ensuring a custom metal structure can cost double what a traditional home would, even though the metal itself often resists storm damage better. So there you have it, 5 prefab modular Barndominiums ranging from a stunning $70,000 starter home all the way up to a $600,000 steel estate. Same basic building method, wildly different outcomes depending on how far you want to take it. Now it's your turn. Which one of these 5 would you actually want to live in? And don't forget, I still want to know. Cliffside tiny home, yes or no? Drop it in the comments. If you enjoyed this one, hit subscribe and turn on notifications, because we've got a lot more Barndominium and tiny home builds coming your way. I'll see you in the next one.